Hello, YouTubers. This is me again. I'm here joined today by a person who is very near and dear to my heart. His name is Sam Zhu. Sam and I have been, working together, on several features and several ideas around OData. But, don't let me, kind of, under, kind of get, undersell the guy for you. I'll let him kind of represent himself and tell you who he is, and then we'll tell you why we are joined up together today to do some work together. Sam, do you want to tell people who you are?
Hi, thanks, Hassan. It's my first time to show myself on the YouTube.
There's gonna be a whole lot of that, so get used to it. Go
And,
ahead. Go ahead.
my name is Sam. I'm from Microsoft. I'm working in the audit team. I have been working for audit for a couple of years. Um, and today, thanks for Hassan's invite, and I can share myself in Hassan's video, YouTube video.
Yeah, that's a YouTube video. That's right.
It's, it's great honor to be here,
Yeah.
and I'm uh, happy to share any ideas for all the
Yeah.
community, and hope everyone can like
Can
it.
learn something from it.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yet. Yes, that's all.
Yeah.
And
Awesome.
also, my last name is Xu. It's not Zhu.
Oh. How do I say it? Sam? Is it Shu?
Xu.
Shoot. Okay,
Yeah.
Sam Shoot. Okay, not Sam Zoo. It's Sam Shoot. Okay, got it. Got it. So Sam, just for you guys, just to kind of, understand, just a few years ago, I was looking for a way to kind of simplify RESTful API communications, and I stumbled upon OData. And from there, I started, looking into the possibility of being able to go out there and talk about OData. And I learned enough about OData to realize that it's a very powerful technology. And a lot of people around the world actually use OData, like multi-billion-dollar systems out there, systems like SAP, World Health Organization, any platform that you can think of inside Microsoft, SharePoint, Xbox, ASP.NET, .NET comes out of the box with OData. Now Azure offers with Cosmos DB offers OData. Blob Storage offers OData. I'm gonna put together a list for you about the amount of enterprises around the world that actually leverages OData in their protocols for communications. And OData, for those who are not familiar with it, it's an open data protocol. It allows RESTful communications to kind of embody, like kind of pass queries back and forth between two different services and APIs, regardless of the stateless, regardless of the technology that you're working with. They implement that protocol, and then now they'll be able to communicate with each other. So Sam, for instance, if I'm talking to a schooling system and trying to retrieve a bunch of students, I can filter my students and order the students data and reshape the students data in the API query without having to implement any additional logic. And that's the beauty of OData. Sam, Sam Hsu is a very helpful human being. I never saw someone reach out to Sam over an email communications or through the blogs, Microsoft Dev blogs, or through any way of communication. GitHub, he's always there to help people and jump in and be able to kind of provide as much data as possible and much information. The other thing that I really appreciate about Sam is that he's very humble. He's very smart, but he's also very humble. Smart and humble are very rare thing to find. That guy right there is smart and humble at the same time. He doesn't really, try to kind of show off or, kind of brag about anything. He's just trying to do some good work and deliver some real value. So why did I bring Sam here today? And what are we trying to do? So for a while there, if you guys have been following me, on my YouTube videos, you'll see that Sam and I have been doing a little bit of work around reinventing OData, right? So a few months ago, I proposed an idea called OData Next, and I talked to Sam about this, and he really welcomed the idea, and he said, "I am here to help as much as possible." Let me share my screen here just to help people understand what we're trying to accomplish here. So here's OData. OData NxT. And then I'm just gonna go to GitHub. If you type in OData NxT, you're gonna find a little proposal in here, and that proposal, received a lot of attention from a lot of people. The proposal here is very simple. We want to basically re-architect OData to provide transcendence, modularization, and technology, being a technology agnostic, in terms of implementation. So it's not a protocol, it's not tied to a protocol specifically. Like OData today is already agnostic in terms of technology. Like if you have Java or Scala or whatever system you have, you can add OData on top of that. But what we're talking about here is that it doesn't have to be necessarily RESTful. So maybe protocol agnostic, is what I really mean. What that basically means is that if you're using gPRC, if you really want to read a file from a local storage, that has OData query in it, you'll be able to execute the OData query without having to have RESTful communication. We do understand that our world is evolving super fast when it comes to the tech industry, and we want to make sure that OData can survive. So OData has been around for how long, Sam? About 13 years now, 14 years? It's not, it wasn't born yesterday. This is why it's embedded in so many systems around the world, because it actually could withstand heavy requirements, enterprise level requirements that can support, handling business flows and all that kind of stuff. So let's just for the people, I know the folks that will see this video, some of them will have already been familiar with this, but this is the beginning of a new series where we actually put a roadmap and we talk about our next sessions. This is going to be our, kind of team stand up. So Sam and I are a team now, and we're building something for the community, and everybody's welcome to kind of join in and, be able to, kind of give us their feedback. There have been a lot, by the way, Sam, there have been a lot of feedback from people, especially, Paul Ward. So Paul, Mr. Paul
Well,
here has been
he's
very,
actually
very, yeah, yeah. He's had a lot of, feedback. There's also some, details from Thomas. There's a lot of people in the community that are really excited about our initiative. And let's just take that to the next level. I'm really excited about it because you get to take an existing technology and actually make it agnostic and all that. So let me just talk to you guys a little bit about what we're trying to accomplish here. So there's the first goal here is the transcendence space, and that's going to reflect really heavily on our roadmap. The transcendence piece is to allow, multiple microservices to transcend an OData query to the next and the next and the next without having to violate your n-tier architecture. So just to visualize things for people and people understand what I'm saying, I'm gonna pull out the draw IO here real quick. Here's draw IO. Here it is. So assume that you have maybe in a microservices architecture, assume that you have a bunch of microservices and you have a gatekeeper sitting in front of your microservices architecture, right? And you have a bunch of services sitting behind that. So let's say here's service one, service two, service three, all that kind of good stuff. We want to be able to go and say, if my client is hitting my gatekeeper here with a request that has an OData query like this, I want that OData query to transcend to other services downstream, right? What that basically means, is that if I'm sending my OData query from here, I want my gatekeeper to be able to go and say, oh, let me send that OData query. It seems that this query is more concerned with students than teachers, so I'm going to send it to the students microservice like this. So this students, this is your gatekeeper, simple microservices architecture. Why is that important? Because our world is evolving. So, a lot of people have today have to add a shim on top, like a little hacky stuff, so they can transcend their OData query to the next layer, especially when you're building service-oriented architecture or microservice architecture. I want to make this out of the box natively accessible for people to be able to go and pass in an OData query. Maybe the students want to pass that OData query downstream to another service in here. We want this to happen seamlessly and nicely. So let's say this is maybe a library card service, and the same OData query is coming through the wire in here just like that, right? So this is what I call transcendence. And this transcendence idea is basically aiming towards, maybe there will be different technology. Let's say the student service is written in C# and the library card is gPRC, right? So I want the difference in protocols doesn't be a blocker or an impediment towards that. But we will talk about that in a second. This is just the Transcendence piece. That's some client in here. Okay, the Transcendence piece will help us. In order for this Transcendence piece to happen, we need two things. We need to be able to turn an OData query, which is, these are things that exist today where we just want to polish it a little bit. Like Sam already knows that we can do this, is doable today. We just need to kind of break the existing OData library into smaller modules and kind of polish it and make it more user friendly, right, Sam? These are things that we already have today. Okay, so
Yes.
what? Perfect. So what does it take to make this happen? The Transcendence piece. We want to turn the OData query. This is an OData query that's coming in. I want to turn that into an expression. And then take that expression and turn it back into an OData query, like this. What does that mean? If you have a controller in here, this is an API, simple API controller.
Mm.
This is a simple API controller. This API controller is receiving your OData query. I want that query to turn into an expression for your service layer. This is just a class, so this is a foundation service layer. And then the service will be able to pass that query back into a broker, an API broker. And this broker will take that and turn it back into an OData query. That's just as simple as that. You're passing the query downstream. You're not even tied to the native models because it's baked into your iQueryable. So you don't even have to worry about passing an external or native model through your in-tier architecture. This guy will always continue to support only localized or native models at all times. This is the Transcendence piece. Assume that the requester is sitting on this side, and assume that the other microservice that will receive this OData query is sitting on that side. Ultimately, our Turing test is to go and say, you can't tell the difference when you call that service, whether that OData query is executing on the service that you're talking to now, or is it executing on a service, an end service downstream, maybe three, four services downstream from there, that is actually communicating with storage. This part is our number one deliverable and the most important piece, because this part will lead to the other things that we're going to talk about in a little bit. This piece here, being able to turn an OData query into an expression, will help us with the protocol-agnostic approach, because once we break it apart like this, now we can read that query from anywhere. It doesn't have to come through an API call, and it's going to be very simple to do something like that. So that's our first number one deliverable. OData query turns into expression, expression to OData query. So let's put these here as cards on the side, right? So this is OData query to expression,
Yeah.
right? That's the first feature. And then the other feature is expression into OData query,
Yeah.
like this.
For the first one, can I share an example for you?
Yes. Go for it. Go ahead. Go
It's
ahead.
easy to share.
Yeah. It's very easy. Click on the
Yeah.
share screen. Let's switch over to Sam. So click share screen, find the screen that you want to share. Make sure it's public material. Just be careful there. There you go. All right.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir. Go for it. Uh-huh.
Um, so I have a simple sample
Uh-huh.
to play the audit query. Can you
Nice.
see the command line? So here is
Yes.
a sample. It's a I think it's a product. The ID name
Yeah.
age customer and
Yes.
have a city on address street. So I can build
Hmm.
query. So for example, here the example. So let's run the example like this one.
Hmm.
Um,
Nice.
so my sample take object query. This is object query, and this is the link queue expression. Okay.
Nice.
Oh, I can use this screen. And here
Yeah,
is
I
a
can see it. Yeah.
audit
Uh-huh.
filter.
Yep.
You can see.
Yep.
So you can see. Let's do the filter on the city on the location of the customer, and the city name
Nice.
equals Shanghai. You can say it's only return this item. So I can do another one. For example, I
Hmm.
can do age. um, less than 30.
Yeah.
So example
Nice.
like this one. So I
Nice.
want to query based on the age
Mm-hmm.
uh, property. So
Mm-hmm.
LT means less than 30 years old. So I
Right.
can the 12 and 24. So this is
Yes.
an example. Um, it I only uh,
This only covers just few filtering until.
few scenarios. Yes, it's not
Yeah.
cover all. So it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
a couple sample just to share,
Oh, this is beautiful. Oh,
and
this is
also
beautiful.
share a code for most of customer to write his own um, uh, filter binder or order by binder, so
Uh-huh.
to translate the order query to the link expression.
Mm-hmm.
So this is one of the example,
Mm-hmm.
and I also host the sample in the GitHub.
On
So
GitHub. Okay.
yeah, anyone
Yes,
can.
yeah, send me the link so I can include it in the YouTube video
Yeah, I will share the
description.
link for you later. So
Sam, this is amazing. This is crazy. So a console application, that's not even an API or a RESTful communication or anything. This is just a simple console application and
yeah,
you are passing in the query. See, that's what I'm talking about. Guys, this is exactly what Sam is doing right here. This is the first part of this equation.
and
He's passing
equals.
in a raw string and he's turning it into an expression. Look at that. He's using the OData protocol to make that happen. This is beautiful, brother. This is beyond beautiful. Okay? So that's that one part. Okay, that's perfect.
Hmm.
Right? So this part, you guys, we're gonna need to kind of polish and productize because we're gonna need to kind of extractly see that filter binder that Sam did. We're gonna kind of test drive all of that and break it apart so we can allow people to kind of, be able to come in and modify. I want anybody, with no experience at all to be able to come in and contribute to our repository knowing the certain standards and patterns that we're gonna put there. We're gonna productionize this, right, Sam? We're gonna make it a little bit more polished so people can just download the package or work with the open source. We're revisiting OData, right? Okay, perfect.
Yeah,
Awesome. Uh-huh.
that's just for example to share the idea of the with the query and
To
how to
expression.
translate the query to the expression,
Yeah.
how to execute the link expression on the sample date. So this is the sample date.
Yes.
Okay, so the green part is the sample data. You can here is the in-memory data, and you can
Yeah.
replace it using the real database date.
Right. Right.
And the blue is the result. In my sample, it only process the dollar filter and only
Yeah.
count the simple scenarios,
Yeah.
and we can move on. And this is just an example for
Yes.
customer for
It's just a
community to understand.
POC. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
thanks. So let's move on.
Okay, moving on. All right, perfect. Thank you so much, Sam. So the other part, this is the one piece, and then the other piece that we want to do is to take that expression and put it into an OData query. This is the other part of this, the other side of this. So this is the opposite of the first one, right? You take in a string, turn it into an expression, take expression, turn it into a string. And then once that's done, you guys, we have another, once that's done, now it becomes very easy for us to kind of plug and unplug OData into any two systems that are communicating with each other because you just have to find a way to pass that query. Whether you're passing that query through the URL, whether you're passing it through a console command line, just like Sam did, it doesn't matter what it is. Now, the last thing here is the modularization of components. And Sam, bear with me. I want to turn OData into a marketplace, right? Where we go and say we want to add operations, modularization. So what does that mean? Let's say, for instance, we only have a specific set of built-in native operations like filter, order by, select, max stop, whatever these, operations are, right? I want to allow people to go in and say, I want to add my own. I want to add a new one into that flow. So for instance, I want to go and say something like this, Sam. So let's say this is my URL. So let's say you have, OData/students like this, and then you're doing $, and I want to go and say Soundix. Soundix equals, right? Something like this, and I can go and say name, right? EQ, maybe Samantha, like this, right? So maybe I misspelled the name. It'll be able to go and find a new keyword and a new module that can be implemented separately in different components. So when people go and say, I have the basic cable OData, right? Let's go back to this focus mode. If I have basic OData, right? I can also add my own modules that help me with my enterprise applications because the possibilities there are infinite, right? So that means, my friend, in this flow here, we want to be able to go and say, okay, you have these basic components. You can even modify them because they're open source. But also you can add your own, and we need to write a standard around being able to create something that can be plugged into the OData as an ecosystem, right? So where people can go and kind of put in a new module for filtering, and that module will just kick in. Even people might be able to go and publish these as NuGet packages as extensions, right? And these extensions can be downloaded, installed on Visual Studio, and now you have this new module built into your system. So these three deliverables here is what's gonna drive the things that you and I talked about, like transcendence and technology agnosticness and or protocol agnosticness and modularization. Okay, so since this is done, we need to talk a little bit about a roadmap. Sam, I know you're really busy. Do you have time for a roadmap?
Yes, go ahead. I had another stand-up meeting, but I just share the message for my team. So I'm working on
Okay,
Hassan on the roadmap of the audit feature.
awesome. Yes, perfect, perfect. Thank you so
So,
much.
so yeah, you can go on. Let me finish the message for my team.
Awesome, awesome. So guys, from a roadmap standpoint, we want to put together a roadmap. What are we going to deliver really in terms of, these features? So let's just go down here. Let me put this here, and let's just talk about this for a second. Okay, our timeline here starts from January. I will publish all of this on our repository. You guys don't worry about that part. But let's just start from January here. This is January 1st. This is when Sam and I are going to start actively starting to add in more work. So this is January here. And our plan is before the end of the year that we'll be able to have something working functional. I think it's going to take a lot less than that because I understand now how your system is going, but we'll see. You never know until you actually hit the ground running. Ideally, today is the 10th of December, 2021. So ideally, just around this time next year, Sam and I will have OData NxT in beta release, ready for people out there to kind of, get it and run with it and be able to download it and work with it. So ideally, this is our timeline. 1 year time frame, beautiful project that we can work with and kind of revolutionize OData, as we know it. So this is December 1st is our deadline, right? So the rest of the year here is just Sam going on vacation and we us, just celebrating, eating a lot of food and celebrating, together. Okay, so what do we really want to do? So there are 3 months and 3 months, 3 months quarters, 4 quarters that we want to work with. This is not necessarily adheres to the financial quarters, but I'm going to break this into 4 quarters. And every one of these quarters, we're going to try to meet a particular deliverable. If you just bear with me here for a second, like this. The last quarter will be the easiest one because this last quarter, it will be the smallest one because this last quarter would be the one that where we just test things and make sure things are running in production and people can actually use this thing and try it out and all that. So here's this last quarter here. So what's the first one here? This first deliverable that we care about is to deliver a capability that allows you to convert a raw string to an expression. So an OData query as a string format, right, to turn into an expression. Ideally, we should be able to get that one done by the end of March, right? So this is March. By the end of March, What's the end of March? Is it 30 days or 28 days? Or I don't remember these things. Let's see. March is
Certain.
March 31, right? So March 31st. March 31st, we should be able to go and say, hey guys, here's a module, here's a library, independent library that you can take. And I know that this piece alone, Sam, a lot of people would kill for this piece because I know a lot of people that came to me and said, I have a different system that may offer iQueryables. I just don't know how to get the query. And I tell them about this whole OData query.apply. They said, no, I want the query itself. I don't want you to do the work for me. I want the expression itself. So if we give them the expression, that might be awesome in its own library. They can use it individually. So this is number one deliverable.
Yeah, as for the number one, can I share my opinion?
Yeah, yeah, go for it. Go for it.
So it means we we start the work from scratch, or we based
Yes,
on some work on the audit library.
from nothing, from nothing. Oh,
For
Sam,
nothing.
yeah.
For nothing, if it's from start from scratch, 3 months could be tightly. Um,
Mhm.
so maybe we can exclude some scenario, but we can focus on the main simple set of the scenarios. So
Absolutely.
if,
There's some good news here.
yeah,
You know, if we need more time, we'll take more time.
okay.
I am super flexible. Listen, man, I'd rather take an extra month and make something right rather than rush something out. And I know this differs from one team and a different engineering team and all that, but yeah, I will take the extra time because here's what I realized that this is actually a great thing, and I hope that makes you, puts your heart at ease a little bit. I want to build something that lives for a very long time, right? So it doesn't do me any favor to rush something out the door in like a week or a month, instead of actually taking my good time to make sure it's test driven, solid. We're gonna have to test this in performance too, Sam. It has to perform. So we're gonna have to go back and start optimizing. Brother, you're the man when it comes to these things. I know how to put pretty pictures together and maybe write some code, just a little bit of code. But this is where your genius comes in and your architectural mindset, and you can engage with me to make sure that we have something that is fast. It has to work really, really fast, and it has to process millions of records, just like how OData does everything today. Okay, let's go back to this guy. The next phase is that we want to turn that expression back into an OData query in a stringified format. So it doesn't matter what this system is downstream, as long as we're passing it an OData query in a string format, that should work. Okay, so convert expression to OData query. The last one is the modules and miscellaneous stuff. Miscellaneous stuff like, oh, we want to make sure that our new system. So let me put here, this here would be the end of June, right, Sam? So it's June. June is what, 30 days or 31 days? I don't know, man. Is it 30th? Uh,
30
30, okay. 30th, okay. And then the last one here is, my friend, would be October,
September.
September. September what? September 30th? In my own home country, we have a different you have the Chinese year, right? We have also our own lunar system. We call it Hijri,
The
right?
same
It's the same thing, right? It's pretty
same
much the
thing.
same thing. Okay, I think okay, so it's 30th, and then in here, testing and productionization. This is our map, okay? And if we can, here's the thing, like I said, we're not tied by any specific deadline. And I can't tell you like the amount of love and support that I'm seeing in the community. People started coming with all kinds of crazy ideas. You just put an idea out there and people start going crazy around, being able to kind of contribute to this repository and contribute to this idea and be a part of it. I want people to be able to look at the OData repository and say, yeah, very easy. There's this engineering standard. Here's the contribution guideline. We can move forward with this. Okay, so one more thing. Let's go here. This is the main thing. Let's go and create a repository together. Is it okay if we create a repository together? I'm going to create a repository with you here. Special repository. Let me go into, let's see. So new repository. And I'm going to call it OData .next, like this. Cool. And this is public, and I'm gonna go here and say this repository is for all the work involved in re-envisioning envisioning OData. Okay, so I'm gonna create this repository. Here's a README file. I'll create all the build work and all that. Let me add you there as a as a main guy. So I'm gonna add you there, Sam. All right, add people. Is it I know that your name is XH. What's your GitHub name, Sam? Yep.
XU
XU
ZH
HZH, huh?
G.
G.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you are.
Mm.
Okay. Okay, so you should receive like an invitation or something like that. And then this will be our repository, my friend. I will start adding the documentation, all these videos that we're going to be recording. I do this with a lot of my projects. Like if you go into any project that I have in here, like this project, for instance, you'll see all the YouTube videos that I record and the contributions and all that kind of stuff and the build and the chat. We're going to create like a Discord or a Slack or whatever, a chat room to help people kind of engage with us in real time. There's also GitHub has this also cool thing called discussions. So they have this option in here if you go into, so they have the wiki, but they also have discussions in here. I don't know where it went. I'll try to find it. But anyway, they have the option here where people can go in and basically say we want to discuss certain topics and stuff like that. Maybe I need to create it into an enterprise mode or whatever the case may be.
You
What do
mean
you
the
think about?
issues?
No, there's issues, but also there is discussions. And I don't
Discussion?
know, yeah, let me show you. It's kind of weird. I have this private repository here. See, there's discussions in here.
Oh.
So I think it's something that you can enable, right? I'm gonna try to enable it
Mm.
in the settings for OData. So for OData next, and this is where we're gonna be starting, my friend. I think it's something in here that I need to enable. So
Okay.
okay, so we have timelines. So we're giving the community a timeline, right? And we have a repository. I'm gonna update this repository with all the videos. I'm gonna put a link for this repository and this video right here on the OData issue to kind of direct the community over to this particular repository. And then you and I, my friend, can meet next week. Would you be available on Friday next week to kind of just set things up before we start working next year? Are you available next week, Friday? You gonna be
Friday.
out? Huh.
Yeah,
Friday morning. Uh-huh.
I share. It's okay.
You think
Yeah.
it's okay? It'll just be like 30 minutes. And I'll chat with you tomorrow. Tomorrow you and I are gonna go for a little walk together and we'll chat a little bit about, what's gonna happen. But that's pretty much it. This is the roadmap. I will update, the repository with all of that. And Sam, I'm very excited about this. Are you excited?
Sure. Yes.
Okay, awesome. And for the people watching us, your feedback, I'm rebuilding this technology to fit in my hand. I'm a very simple guy and I try to things to be simple. But your feedback and your contribution and your ideas is really, really important because we want to make sure that OData evolves and can adhere to the forever changing industry that we live in, the tech industry, so it can continue to support more clients, more customers, more capabilities out there, all community driven. Just jump in. Don't say, "Oh, I'm not as smart as Sam Shoop," so I
Yes.
can't. Yeah, I can't just contribute like Sam. Nope, just come in and the water is fine. We'll show you what's going on there. We'll walk you, through. We'll show you the tricks, and you'll be a part of this. This is a great opportunity because this is like a long running amazing hackathon, Sam. right? We get to kind of sit together, reinvent an entire technology, and see where the world take us. So anyway, Sam, anything else from you before I wrap up?
That's cool. It's an amazing starting point. So let's do it. And I don't think the roadmap is not the deadline, but it's a hope.
It's just a draft. We're just putting an
Yeah.
idea out there. Yeah, we're just saying, hey, here's what we think, right? By the way, just letting you know, Mike Tyson says every man has a plan until he gets knocked in the face. This is why I say this is my idea of a plan, but we're gonna be pushing the deadlines. You see that all the time, even in some of the biggest products out there. When they say we're gonna release a game and they say, oh, we're delayed, we need more time, because you never know. That's the thing about the tech industry. There's a lot of things that you might run into that takes a little bit of time. Maybe you have, a family situation. Maybe I have a family situation. Maybe we need to deal with something at work. Who knows, right? So we're gonna do the best we can. The one thing I can tell you for sure, though, once we have a clear path and we're telling people how things need to be implemented, you'll be surprised by how amazing the open source community is when it comes to contributing, to projects like these, especially if they're excited about it. Anyway, I really appreciate you, sir. I appreciate your time. Thank you so very much. And I appreciate the people watching us right now. As usual, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, please feel free to drop a comment in the comment section. And don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you in another video. Thank you,
Yeah.
Sam.
See you
Take
next.
care.